Yeah, Les, Flint, South Carolina. I'm a senior at Presbyterian College with a business degree with concentration in management. And I have with me Grandison Howard. And Grandison, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Les.
No problem.
I'm Grandison Howard. I'm from Florence, South Carolina. I actually come from a family of blue hose. My grandpa graduated in 1960. My dad was in 87, and I graduated in the class of 2018. It's kind of neat. We were all business majors. We were all in the same fraternity. Yeah, in my spare time, when it's not 95 degrees out, I like to hunt a little bit and fish when I can. And unfortunately, I'm a South Carolina Gamecock fan, which usually ends up being more frustrating than enjoyable, but still claim them.
Grandison, will you tell me a little bit about your job?
Yeah, so I'm a chemical sales rep for Car Wash Services of the Southeast. We're based out of Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta. We were actually acquired by Sonny's, the car wash factory, a couple of years before I started, but they're based out of Tamarack, Florida, and actually the largest manufacturer of car washes in the world. So, we ended up being a good acquisition for them, but so they're headquartered down in Florida. But basically what I do, we try to be the eyes and ears of the car wash for whichever owner or customer hires us to be their salesman. We distribute chemical, and we also set it up and make sure it works while we also track their costs. So basically every 2 weeks, I'll go by and visit a customer. Tunnels these days, the newer ones that are coming out have anywhere between 15 to 25 different chemical applications in the tunnel, which is a lot of different types of chemistry to work with. So, sorry, I'm in a hotel. This air conditioner keeps cutting on and off, but so I'll get on the site and I'll walk these tunnels, make sure all the different chemistry is working as it's supposed to. I'll also try to check out all the different types of equipment in these car wash tunnels. So basically just trying to be a reliable set of eyes and ears for the car wash owner who hires me. And, making sure that the chemistry I'm selling is doing its job. And then the other aspect of this job is controlling the cost, which is equally as important as making sure that it works these days. So, we'll track all the usage of the different types of chemistry. And the idea is you want to hit kind of that sweet spot between, the customer value as well as the owner or the, car wash's value as far as what they're paying. So you basically want all the cars to come out clean, dry, and shiny, and be able to protect them from the elements and all that good stuff that they're paying for. But you also want to make sure that you're not costing the car wash extra money. So, too little or too much. Too little obviously isn't going to get the job done, and too much is just wasted chemical and also wasted money on the car wash is expenses. So, so I'm just trying to, I go in there and try to make sure everything's working right, try to be the eyes and ears, and, also try to make sure that, his costs are in line, because that's a very, very important aspect of the business these days.
Well, that's very interesting. What is your story that led you to taking this position?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. So, whenever I graduated from PC, I wanted to be a financial advisor. And right around the time of graduation, I was actually locked in and, took a job for a firm. And the training was out in St. Louis, but they filled up their training. So I got put onto a 6-month wait list. And, I took the job. I wasn't too concerned about it. I just thought it was going to be 6 months of just getting to relax a little bit after college and enjoy myself. But about a month and a half of living at my parents' house after, getting out of college, I started to go a little crazy. And the family business we've had for a while, they've always been doing gas distribution and car washes on the side. And they started to open up a couple tunnels in the past few years. I had a family member who, recommended I just consider, meeting with somebody from Car Wash Services and, just checking it out and see what they have to say. And I thought, why not? I was just sitting at home for 6 months, so I was kind of open to other opportunities. And got picked up in an airplane in Florence, and we flew to Charleston with the president of car wash services at the time. And we spent the day, going by, calling on customers. He was an equipment salesman, so he wasn't doing, chemical sales like I do. But we met with customers and we went by some car washes, and he showed me kind of what he does. And, we went through all those different aspects. It's funny because he's known as one of the best salesmen in our industry. So I ended up taking the job offer that he gave me, which was 90 days on the car wash installation team, followed by a transition to either chemical sales or equipment sales. And I didn't think a whole lot of it. I knew it was going to be hard work on the installation team, but I went for it. Boy, was I right. So, after we got acclimated, I got onto the onboarding process and all that. I literally got picked up from my parents' house on a Monday morning, and I jumped into a 2-seater van and drove with somebody I had never met to, I think it was Lexington, Kentucky, maybe. And we, install, you picked up on Monday, you come back on Friday, and you're in the hotel living with usually one other person for a whole week. So, that process ended up lasting for about 9 months. It overshot the 90 days that we discussed a little bit, but it worked out fine. It was a tough part of my life, I would say. It's physically demanding and mentally tough because you're working long hours, and these new car washes are literally just empty tunnels. And you go in, they drop off equipment in these big trucks, and you have to get all the equipment out. You have to mount it, and you have to start putting all the different chemical applicators and all that type of stuff in there, and it takes a pretty long time to get it all squared away. So you're working out in the elements, no air conditioner or heat. I can tell you that Kentucky is a cold place in the wintertime, especially if you're trying to work with your hands. And I didn't have a big background of working with tools, so that was a tough time trying to figure out how to really be efficient with the tools and try to keep up with these guys who have been working with tools most of their life. So I learned a lot about myself during that time, but I also it was cool to be able to communicate with people with different backgrounds and see how people live. And it's definitely not a time I'd say I want to go back to anytime soon, but it's definitely something that I'm glad I did and appreciate doing. But going back to the story, so after 9 months of being on install, I met with the manager of the chemical department. For me, I was all excited trying to make the move from install to chemical or equipment sales, whatever it was. And after we met, he basically told me he had a spot open, so I got super excited. And then he told me the territory covered the entire state of Virginia and eastern North Carolina. And as I said, I'm from Florence, South Carolina, which is very far from most of those places. So basically, like I said, I go by each customer twice a month. So one week I would start in Wilmington. I was hanging out in Charleston on the weekends, so I'd basically drive from Charleston to Wilmington to get into the territory, and then I'd go all the way up to Rocky Mount, which is kind of towards the northern part of North Carolina, and then I'd work my way down to Durham and Fayetteville and back to Charleston. But the other 2 weeks of the month were the kicker, where I would drive from Charleston to Virginia Beach every other Monday, which, about 7 to 7.5 hours after getting gas a couple times and all that good stuff. So on Monday, I'd get there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd make it to Virginia Beach, and I'd hit sites in between Virginia Beach and Roanoke, Virginia. So I'd literally cross the state and then drive back to Charleston on Friday. So, all in all, I basically ran that territory until about 90 days ago, where they kind of redrew some of our routes, and a spot opened up in eastern South Carolina, which I expressed my interest in as often as I could. Thankfully, they moved me down here. So I'm getting home most nights, but for the past 2.5 years, I've really been living out of a hotel pretty much. And like I said, I'm in a hotel right now with beautiful curtains behind me. So, but yeah, so like I said, I just picked up a new territory where I'm getting home at night, and that's really been a blessing. So, yeah.
Good. What was the most useful class you had at PC, and how did PC prepare you for your career?
Yeah. So, I mean, the most useful class I ever had at PC, I would say, was managerial communications with Dr. Smith. Um, yeah, for several reasons, really. I mean, there, a portion of the class was doing resumes and cover letters and interviewing and that type of stuff. And just as a college senior, that's just immensely helpful for somebody who's about to graduate and try to find a job. Going through all the resume critiquing and really figuring out how to sell yourself is just a great skill to have. And I know, at least in my situation, I felt a lot more confidence going into job interviews and sending my resume around, just because I knew that I'd been through that class where it was critiqued so many times. So I definitely recommend that to really anyone, but especially seniors in the business department who know about it. So if that's open in the spring, y'all jump on it. But and then the other half of that class is the actual business communications and the management communications and aspects of it. That's also extremely helpful too. Just you talk about delivering bad news, and you read a bunch of different books about being efficient and how to better yourself. It's just a great all-around class. You go through a bunch of different types of memos and very real life stuff. I would say, without knowing it, I probably use something from that class every day. So I really do recommend that to anybody out there. And as far as PC, my PC, what was the last part of that question? The PC experience.
Prepare you for your career.
Yeah. So the PC experience was really what I would say prepared me most for my career. Just, PC as a whole, because most people who go to PC know that it's a very tiny place. It's rigorous academics, and it's in a very, very small city. So, it's a very niche environment, but PC teaches you, by the time you graduate, hopefully they teach you how to balance your time, with that tough academic setting, which kind of reminds you of work once you graduate. So, you figure out in college kind of how to manage that tough academics, and then how to, have fun and enjoy your social life when you can after that. And that kind of translates to work once you graduate, because, no matter what, you got to get your work done. So, PC, I feel like, really prepared me well for that, and as well as all the different organizations at PC. Just being involved and seeing all the different sides of all the different organizations out there. So, yeah.
All right, Grandison. Last question.
Last question.
What advice do you have for PC students about to graduate?
Yeah, I would definitely say to make the most of your time at PC. I know in my situation, it really didn't feel like it while I was there, but it's really the most free time that you're ever going to have in your entire life. So, you want to make sure you get your work done, but you also want to enjoy yourself. It's also a great, time to really try to figure out what you want to do. Especially as a senior at PC, I feel like not everyone takes advantage of it, but we have such an incredible alumni base that, pretty much any field or job that you can think of, there's a PC alum who has either had a job or, has the job currently. And our network is so small, I think everyone's really willing to help each other out. So, if you had an interest in being, say a financial advisor, you could, I can't remember what it was called when I was at PC. It might've been the Tartan Network. Is that still? Yeah. So the Tartan Network, or you could just take it a step further and get on LinkedIn. But just being able to communicate with an alum who is doing the job that you think you might like to do is just immensely helpful. And you can reach out and ask to spend the day with them and just kind of get a feel for what they do for a living, and they'll give you a whole lot of insight. So what I recommend is just enjoying your time at PC and spending your time with your friends and making sure your work gets done, but also trying to utilize that free time to really get ahead and try to figure out what you want to do while you have the time to do so.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Grandison.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem.